The city was only allocated 5,000 vaccines this week, which is less than last week. The other counties are dealing with the same issue until the federal government straightens out this allocation and distribution issue. But what it means is if you have an appointment at TCF, we will honor your appointment. We again plan for the possibility this could happen. So anybody who's been scheduled this week, go to TCF. We're doing 1,300 a day for the next couple of days, but we slowed it down later on in the week in our scheduling in case we got shorted on supplies again. But we know we've got just thousands and thousands of Detroiters anxious to be here. But if you are over 68 or you fall into our categories, our teachers, our postal workers, our ministers, our funeral home workers, our federal and state law enforcement officials, if you're in those categories, you can call up, you're going to make an appointment. We're still taking the appointments and scheduling them, but we can't lower the age until we get an allocation somewhere close to 10,000, and unfortunately, that has not happened. Good news is you're scheduled, show up, you'll get your shot on time. It's going very smoothly. What I really want to talk about today is an issue that to people outside this city may not seem like the most important issue in the world, but in the city of Detroit, it is huge. And that is the alleys in this city. And so longtime Detroiters know when I was a kid, the garbage trucks came down the alley. About 40 years ago, the city moved the garbage trucks to the street. And many alleys in the city have not been cleaned in 40 years. They're so overgrown in many cases, you wouldn't know an alley was there. Tires have been dumped, garbage has been dumped. In some neighborhoods, the neighbors, because the city gave the adjoining land to the neighbors in the alley, in a number of neighborhoods, the neighbors pushed their fences back, and they just made longer yards. Other neighborhoods have left them the way they are and just allow the alleys to become the way they became. So here's what we did this year. We cleaned out the first 505 alleys in the city of Detroit. We've taken out 4,000 tons of debris, 5 million square feet of alleys cleaned in 2020. And this is something the city felt that we had to do because at one point, there were neighbors on each side of these alleys who would have been responsible for it. Now about 30% of the land in the city is vacant. So a lot of times, there is no neighbor behind you to share in the alley cleanup. And a lot of times now, because the city of Detroit took those properties over the years, the city's actually your neighbor. So here's the agreement that we made. And you're going to get a chance to hear today from O.B. King from the Monica Street Block Club. But here's what we said to the people of this community. If you have a block club and you want to petition for an alley cleanup, we'll come out and do it. We'll bring the heavy equipment, we'll clean it out. But you as neighbors are going to have to go through twice a year and do a follow-up. A number of the neighbors have activated the alleys in different ways. And I'm really pleased with the fact that a third of our crew are returning citizens. This city got boarded up, the 20,000 vacant homes, largely by a crew of returning citizens who wanted to contribute to the improvement of the city, and now we've got great efforts being going in the alleys. So give you a sense of what these alleys look like. This is how it looked at Gratiot and Woodlawn. It does look like nobody touched it in 40 years, doesn't it? And here's what happened when we got all the way through. On Moffett and Fisher, again, you wouldn't even know that's an alley. And it has now been cleaned out. Monica and Fullerton, you're going to get a chance to hear from one of our block club heads, but you can see this is the way the alley looks today. This is what we have done 500 times. This year, we're going to do it 2,000 more times. And right now, we want to talk to the block clubs, because O.B. King, you're going to hear from, yeah, people are very happy when these alleys are done. And if you want, we'll put a gate on the alley. Some neighborhoods want them. We leave the keys with neighborhood leaders. Other neighborhoods, in some neighborhoods, you still have alleys that are the back entrance of garages. You can't do this, and other neighborhoods don't want to. It's up to the block club. So if a block club comes to us and says, we'd like a lock gate at the end of the alley, you can request that, and if you have a plan to have the keys available, when DTE comes by or the city needs to get in, we will work that out with you. So If you want your alley cleaned up, you can apply right now, and we will get to you this year. We're going to do 2,000 more blocks this year. So you go to DetroitMI.gov to the neighborhood section. You've got to be a registered block club. What we have learned over and over in this city, we learned it with the board ups as well, is when you partner with a block club, what we do stays. The improvements we make stays. If we go in and nobody cared in the first place, it just goes right back to where it was. And so right now we have 1,500 block clubs who have submitted and been accepted for this year. We have 500 spots left for 2021. So fill out the form. If you're in an area that doesn't have a block club, you can form one this week. If you ever want to be block club president, you don't need very many neighbors. Go in and form the block club. But we want to make sure if we are coming in and doing this, that the neighbors actually want us. So we're going to take the next 1,500 that go online and registered, and they will all be scheduled for this year. And I want you to get a chance to hear to some of the folks who are actually doing the work. They've been out there in the heat of the summer. They're out there right now in the cold of the winter, and it's remarkable. And so let me turn it over to the leader of the operation, Crystal Perkins, to discuss how she's going about this.
Thank you. So I'm very proud of the work that the team is doing in the alleys. We started in August of 2020, and we are continuing to hire Detroiters, returning citizens, to help with this effort. We have, again, we've cleared so far 505 alleys, but we still have a lot of alleys to go in the city. So if you're interested, again, in having your alleys cleaned, please visit the website to sign up. If you don't have a block club, like the mayor said, please fill out the link to form the block club as well. And with us today, we do have one of our first hirees with our board up program, who is now working on our alleys program to help us in this effort. His name is Gino Solomon, and he's with us to tell a little bit about his story today.
How you doing? I'd like to start off by thanking the mayor for his reentry program and allowing me to have the opportunity with the city to advance as well as help out with the alleys. I started off on a board-up team, and that was just to make sure that the houses were secure and wasn't nobody getting hurt in them. But over the time I was there, people was able to notice that I wanted to do more for the city, and I wanted to help out more. And it allowed me to advance 3 promotions since I've been there. And now we're in the process of trying to close off the alleys to prevent any type of dumping or mishap going on in here.
Thank you,
So
Gino.
how are you, so you're now supervising.
Yes.
What's the best experience you've had on the alleys? Most interesting one?
Honestly, I can say the learning it as well as trying to clean it up, trying to do something better for the community.
How do the neighbors react when you come through?
They are very excited. They're excited that we trying to clean it out and make sure everything get secure.
And Mr. Obi King, how were you feeling when they came, when Gino and the crew came through?
I was very excited to see a change happening in the city, and I want to thank you and commend you, Mayor, for putting this team together and issuing out a great force for the city to make people feel proud about their homes, their neighborhood, and the actions that's taking place for everyone to be excited about what's going on. My alley, I had an issue with, people dumping in the back and, having different kind of strangers and stuff cutting through. But in all beginning, I started taking an action amongst myself and telling the neighbors on my block of Monica and Fullerton that we should do something about it. And with the action and the force coming from your team showing that this progress can be done, is made it more accessible for power trucks to get through the alley, to turn the power back on if we had any major issues, and that's all over the city. And with this action taking place, it's really helpful for us not to worry about any power outages.
So who was cleaning the alley before we got there?
Myself.
You were taking care of that mess yourself?
Yeah, I was doing a drive-through, and I would cut the grass, you know, to keep a trailway going through, because when people see a clean area, they tempt to see that no one is, they really see that someone cares about this alley, so they wouldn't reach out to bag up and dump anything when they see action is happening in these alleys.
So we've had way too many folks in the city like Mr. King who have had to take it upon themselves to do things that in other cities, city government would have acted on. And so I'm really pleased with the fact that my first couple of years, all I heard was the street lights were out, the buses don't run, the ambulances aren't coming. Now I'm hearing a lot of, we want alleys cleaned up. And this is good. This is progress in the quality of life in the city. So I want to thank everybody here who's a part of this. 500 down, 2,000 more to go this year. And of course, special thank you to Brad Dick, who's staying behind the cameras, who's been the mastermind behind all of this. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more subject to cover today, and we're moving along relatively quickly because I want to be respectful of the fact the governor's briefing at 1:30, and I know people are going to want to change the channel to catch the governor's updates. So right on time is our leader, Councilman James Tate, and we are absolutely committed to making sure that the medical and the recreational marijuana businesses that open in this city are owned fair share by Detroiters. And to kick off this conversation, I'll turn it over to the author of the ordinance, Councilmember Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank everyone for joining us today. This has been, I would say overwhelming, but we kind of anticipated that the interest would be there from Detroiters as we rolled out this ordinance. I'm very proud of the way that the city has approached it, looking at all the work, and you'll see in the presentation that the mayor is going to offer that all of the, all of the strength of the administration has really been put into making sure that this is a transparent process. It's one that actually reaches the goals that we intended, and one that we all can be proud of. We've done a tremendous job, I would say, in communicating with the community. Here we are again having another press conference about this matter just a few days after we've gone live. We went live on January 19th. That's when the ordinance went into effect. That's when we began certification. We're receiving the applications for certification. We've gone on Instagram Live, talking to folks who typically don't interact and intersect with government, reaching people where they are. And that's extremely important, especially if we're trying to reach a population, again, that typically don't know the channels, understand the channels, and frequent the channels that we have in city government. This has been very eye-opening to me as well in having these conversations, as we know that the ordinance that we have on the table is the first one. There's going to be some amendments as we move forward. There is one topic that has popped up in these conversations, and we talk about generational wealth, but if you have a legacy Detroiter that has a license and that legacy Detroiter suddenly passes, they die. Well, what happens to that license? Well, we haven't had many conversations about that process, and the whole idea, the whole goal is to ensure that generational wealth happens, not just Detroiters get licenses and then they end up somewhere else. So the good news is we have until April to try to figure all this out, right? We've got some time, and I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that we're going to make that happen based upon what has taken place thus far. And again, I just encourage Detroiters to continue to ask questions, but make sure you get your information in if you're looking to get into this industry, because it is indeed a business. It is highly regulated, but we welcome you. We absolutely welcome you. With that, Mr. Mayor, thanks again.
You know how to operate Instagram Live?
Well,
Wow.
the things you learned during COVID.
All right. So we are going to continue to update you. We want Detroiters to own as many of these businesses as possible to build wealth in this city. We talked about before, the medical marijuana process came from the state of Michigan. We had about 45 medical marijuana dispensaries in the state, in the city of Detroit, only 4 owned by Detroiters. And so Councilman Tate stopped the expansion with my full support of the recreational dispensaries, grow facilities, et cetera, until we could lock in some rules that said Detroiters get our fair share. We're happy to have investment from outside the city, but Detroiters have to get our fair share too. And I think he and I have both been surprised that since we've done this, the acceptance of the fairness of what we've done. Now, Detroiters have a 6-week exclusive window period coming up starting April 1st. We want you to be ready to take advantage of that 6-week period, because after that it's open to everybody. And so what do you need to do? You can go to our website, DetroitMeansBusiness.org, under Homegrown. We're calling this program Homegrown Detroit. We're going to have businesses owned by homegrown Detroiters. And so from April 1st to May 15th, only Detroit companies get licensed for recreational marijuana. After that, we open it to everybody. All right? So that means by April 1st, you have to be certified as a Detroit Legacy company. You can't show up April 1st and say, hey, I'm from Detroit. That isn't how it works. You've got to be certified ahead of time. And you can start that process now. Charity Dean, the head of the Civil Rights and Inclusion Office, is here. She's going to talk to you about how it works. But we want you to start the process now so that Charity Dean's operation will certify you as a Detroiter before April 1st. She tells me her highly efficient office will process these applications in an average of 30 days, which means you really need to get the applications in by the end of February so they have the time. And this is why we continue to educate so early, is we want to create every opportunity for Detroiters to get in. So these are what we call the Tate rules. These are people who are Detroit Legacy applicants. Who gets that exclusive period? And we will not issue licenses to anybody if the number of Detroiters is below 50% overall, which means we are guaranteeing if there's recreational marijuana in the city, Detroiters have half of every category. So you can get, as an individual, a legacy certification. You've got to be a resident of the city of Detroit today and for the last year. You have to have lived in Detroit for 15 of the last 30 years. Or you could have lived in Detroit 13 of the last 30 years if you're of low income, or it can be 10 of the last 30 years if you have a marijuana conviction or a parent with a marijuana conviction. Those who are most heavily impacted are getting preference. This is our social equity program, and we believe in these definitions, which means you have to get this information in to the CREO office. Or you can have a business legacy certification. If you are certified as an individual and your company is owned and controlled 51% by Detroiters, your company can be certified. But the CREO department is going to look into the finances of your organization. You can't show up and be the front for somebody else. You truly have to have 51% ownership and control, and they're going to look at it very carefully. So if you've got a business certification you're applying for, please get it in early so they can look at your finances. Okay, what do you need? If you're a 15-year Detroiter, you're going to have to prove residency. Now, you can have driver's licenses, you can have property tax bills, you can have utility statements, tax return with your Detroit address, voter registration cards, any number of things, but you're going to have to show that you lived here with one of those pieces of documentation. If you're a low-income Detroiter, you need both residency and your 2019 federal income tax return. And if you are a 10-year Detroiter with a marijuana conviction, you're going to have to show the judgment of conviction, or if you were convicted as a minor, your documentation there. And if you're a dependent, you'll have to show the same thing. The CREO department will take you through this, but we need you to get the paperwork in right away. Now, what's at stake? A minimum of 50% of every one of these will be owned by Detroiters, or we will not issue the license, which means there can be 75 dispensaries, what we call provisioning centers. There can be 75 adult use retailer establishments, there can be 35 consumption lounges, things like, very like microbreweries, and 35 micro businesses, and then you've got unlimited numbers of growers, processors, and transporters. But 50% of all will be issued to Detroiter. If we have 5 Detroiters issued a provisioning center, then we will only issue 5 to those outside the city. When a 6th Detroiter gets a license, a 6th person outside the city gets a license. That way we will make sure that we have our share. Here's the next thing we're going to show you. The benefits of being a Detroit certified applicant. As I just told you, you got to be at least 50%. You've got the first 15 days on the reviews, and you get preference for buying city-owned properties, and you get a 75% discount. And today, if you go to the website, we've got 17 properties that are listed today that we believe are properly zoned for marijuana businesses that the city of Detroit owns. And if you're certified as a Legacy Detroiter, and if you can't read these, I'll give you an example. We've got one on 201 East McNichols, 28,000 square foot parcel. We've got another one on Charleston. That one has a list price of $95,000. If you're a Legacy Detroiter, you get 75% off. There are 9 sites. I think it's 8 buildings and 9 vacant lots. And so we are holding those. The city of Detroit has taken those properties, placed them on hold so nobody else can buy them. And we see these, because I hear this all the time, well, I can get certified, but there's no properties available. So not only do we have the properties, you have a 75% discount. We are doing everything we can to change the historic inequities of Detroiters being able to start their own businesses. And if you don't have an address, you can get a provisional license, and you'll have a year to get an address. But you're going to be far better off if you take a look at one of these 17 sites, or you find your own site and come in and apply. So that's what we are doing right now. If you look at the overall dates, you should have gotten pre-qualified from the state of Michigan. If you haven't, you just start your state process right now. We talked about that 2 months ago. You now go to Charity Dean and Creo. You get certified as a Detroit Legacy Applicant. April 1st, you apply for your Detroit Legacy license. Only Detroiters will be able to apply for that 6 weeks. And then May 1st, we will start issuing licenses to Detroiters again 6 weeks ahead of those outside the city. And so all of this now starts at the Department of Civil Rights and Inclusion. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Director of the Department, Charity Dean, who can talk to you about what you can expect as you go through the process.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. So we are really excited about this program and the opportunity that it brings to Detroiters. We launched last Tuesday, so 1 week from today. We've currently have about 140 applicants already in the pool for the Legacy Detroit certification. We expect that the process for certifying Legacy Detroiters will take about 30 days. And what we really are saying is that we're going to do this with excellence and transparency. And so in the month of February, you'll be able to go online and see where you are in the process. Right now, if you have any questions, you can send an email to homegrown, HOMEGROWN @DetroitMI.gov. And of course, you go to DetroitMeansBusiness.org/homegrown for the application and information about the program. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the Mayor.
All right, we'll be able to take questions about 5 minutes or so. The governor threw us a curve by scheduling this 1:30 briefing, and so I am going to be respectful of her and wrap up by 1:30, and we'll start off with the hardest working news person in Detroit.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. First of all, on the 17 properties that have been put aside, are you adding to those, or will it just be those 17?
So we will continue to add to them. What we did was we went through every commercial parcel the city owned. We matched them up against the zoning because there's certain restrictions, how far you have to be from a church, from a school, and the like, and found what we think are 17 viable properties that the city owns that are properly zoned today. If we find others, we'll add them, but we believe this is probably the extent of what the city owns. There may be 2 or 3 more in there. And certainly lots of private choices. But this was Councilman Tate's idea. He wanted us to take the city properties that were eligible, because the folks who did the medical marijuana sites in the city, they were very sophisticated. They rolled through the city, they figured out the zoning, they bought up the land. They didn't do anything wrong. They were just very good at what they're doing. And so Councilman Tate said, how about we tie up the city property and make it available to legacy Detroiters? And I know you got to be happy that we got it done.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and the other piece that we've, because we did take the time that we did in drafting the ordinance, we had an opportunity to look around the country, and we saw that, property, the lack of property was a huge hurdle for a lot of the local individuals within that particular municipality that were trying to participate if they weren't the current landowner. So, again, I'll take credit on behalf of the work group, because we all came together. And it was a complete team effort, but definitely feels good to see these properties now being offered at this point, and looking forward to seeing if there's any additional ones that we can provide. But right now, 17 is a very good start, especially looking at understanding that these are going to go to 17 licensees. So I'm excited about it.
And this was certainly a long and painstaking process. How do you feel at this point? Because you took a lot of heat from those people who wanted it now.
Yeah, we did take a lot of heat, but, as an elected official, you understand that, this is part of the job. You can't make everybody happy with every decision, and there's times where you have to take the time and take the lumps and take the time to educate people about why you're doing what you're doing. And we tried to do that. The message didn't necessarily go out as we wanted it to, but I think resoundingly they're seeing and hearing the message now that we want Detroiters in this industry, in the city where they live.
And from step A, from, getting through the state process to being certified as a legacy Detroiter, are people getting help navigating that process? And maybe that's for you, Charity.
Yes, absolutely. So we part of our job through CREO is not only to certify legacy Detroiters. We're going to be, the chair of the licensing review committee, but also building out what the social equity program means. And so that includes technical assistance. It includes financial resources, and really being able to connect the legacy Detroiters to all the resources that are available to them. And so for now, as we're building out the team, we're asking folks to go ahead and email us, and we're helping people navigate their questions. But we expect a full and robust program to be able to help Detroiters.
Thank you.
All right, John, we have 2 more minutes.
Okay, we got about a 1-minute question.
Good.
Christine and Freddie from the Detroit News want to know what the budget is this year for the alley cleanup program, and also if it's expected to be an annual program going forward.
So the current fiscal year budget, we started with $12 million. That's the startup cost to buy the equipment and things of that nature to get through the alleys, to clean the alleys. We have forecast this to be a 4-year program. So for the next 4 years, we're targeting 2,000 to 2,500 alleys a year.
And we're hoping Councilman Tate's going to help get the funding through the next budget.
Oh, the budget session, that's coming up.
But we are confident. So what is the plan to spend a year, Crystal?
So the plan after this fiscal year, after the startup costs and everything, we're looking at $8 million.
$1 million a year.
Yes,
I think council unanimously passed the first one. There's been just a normal.
they did.
Council. on
Just
this.
waiting on the second one. Right now, we have 39 employees. We're looking to employ anywhere up to 65.
Right, and 1/3 of those are all returning citizens as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And with that, we'll turn you over to Governor Whitmer. Thank you.
Thank you.